Welcome to the battlefield outside of Zvostra, where Isabella von Karstein and her apparently suicidal vampiric forces, my bad, are attacking me. Speaking of suicidal, here comes the Felbats and the Vargeist. Right into a giant bunch of anti-large monsters. I'm sure this will end well for them, especially considering that they came into battle completely bare butt, no armor. On the other flank, I'm going to use a combination of Dragon Ogres, Shaggoths, and Chariots. And this combination should create a nice blob here. And then I am moving Skullex the Great around the flank. And he is going to find himself in a position to get possibly more kills than he's ever gotten before, as the vampires are forced to fight me in a choke point. And there you can see Isabella just barely escaping my pile of Dragon Ogres. So she is lucky to have made it up and out of that, but rather than be lucky, she decides to charge back down. And there comes the first breath attack from Skullex. Just going to leave a massive gaping hole in the vampire lines and pick up 247 kills. And speaking of kills, Kholek is quite busy doing that same thing over here. He's got 63 kills because of a giant lightning strike. And pretty soon we're going to have a lot more to take care of there. You can see that we've unleashed the Summoners of Rage. Their Chain Lightning has now rocketed up a whole bunch of kills for them, 200 in fact. And Skullex is about ready to drop a second breath attack here. So the vampiric blob has been punished massively, and vampires don't really have a lot of good anti-large. They have some Blood Knights, but it's going to take a lot more than a unit of Blood Knights and some underwhelming infantry to cut through the type of monsters that I have, especially considering the epic upgrades that they have at this point. Meanwhile, Kholek is mashing his way through Graveguard. All the Graveguard in the world over here won't save the vampires. They do have a vampire lord there that's leading these armies. But yeah, you can see over here, the crumbling is real. So these vampires are in way over their head. And we've got a Master Necromancer here that's being attacked and pretty quickly slaughtered. So let me turn off the UI there and let you all enjoy some of this glorious vampire destruction. For those of you who don't like the vampire counts, this ought to be pretty gratifying. But for those of you who like the vampire counts, this ought to be pretty terrifying. Kholek's rampage continues. Look at him, he just looks so at home in this type of environment. It's like, hey, you woke me up from my slumber under the mountain, so get over here and take what's yours. That's why you don't wake up a Shaggoth, folks. When they're sleeping, let sleeping dogs lie, or in this case, sleeping Shaggoths. Kholek has 169 kills and is now going after a vampire lord back here who is lucky that he's not mounted, or else Kholek might have like one or two shot him there. Got some vampire croquet if anybody wants to join in. It's a new league that Kholek has going. And speaking of, the second wave of vampires is inbound over here, starting off with some Black Knights, Lances, and Barding. Really cool looking units. I do love the way vampire units look. Got a very nice aesthetic to them. Yeah, look, here comes the next wave of vampires. There's going to be Skeleton Warriors and Black Knights. Lots more Skeleton Warriors. In fact, just absolute heaps of Skeleton Warriors. They're going to be rolling on in and setting up a second blob where you can see Skullex is ready and able to take on a second batch here. The Felbats really should be attacking Skullex at this point, along with the Vargeist. They can keep him busy and prevent a giant breath attack into these blob forces. Instead, I decided to get behind the vampire lines here and get myself in a good position. Over here, again, Kholek's blob is in full beatdown mode. I want you all to witness the wrath of Skullex the Great, Dragon of Chaos. It's like the delete button on vampires, folks. And he just deleted many, many more. So he's up to 584 kills, and he's now going to drop down into combat and give a little bit of bone crunching to those remaining vampires. I don't know what they're doing with their flyers out there, but they really need to be getting into combat. Now, other than a couple of chariots over here, nothing in my army is in any type of real danger. Kholek's still calling down the lightning, and it is taking a severe toll. Vargulfs will not be a significant enough unit here. It would take probably a couple of full stacks of Terrorgeist to really start to have enough anti-large to fight back against this army. And even that, I don't really know. That'd be an interesting fight if one of those Vargeist or Terrorgeist spams. Oh, look, there's a black coach rolling around there too. Kholek gave it a little parting gift there. Vampire Uber will not keep you safe from Kholek. Speaking of Vampire Uber, there's another one back here. This one doesn't get around quite so quickly. This Vargulf thinks he really has a chance here. Oh, man. That has the smarts. There's actually 2 Vargeist here. Kholek is giving a pretty significant beat down to that one. Vargeist can take a while to beat because they kind of get knocked around, kind of like infantry as well. The leader bar is still very high because the vampires outnumber me. Yes, you see it correctly here. They outnumbered me 50 to 1 in total. 50 to 1. And this fight was terribly unfair for the vampires. There you can see the crumbling going into effect, and other than a couple of, I believe, maybe some necromancers coming onto here, you can see everything for the vampires utterly crumbling in decay. Another corpse carts back here, and that's going to be it for the suicidal squad of vampires led by Isabella von Karstein. Ooh, that balefire looks cool in the unholy lodestone. Skullex was going to come pay these corpse carts a visit, but his presence was a little bit too much for them to handle. Not even really sure what these guys are up to here other than trying to look cool while they die. Good evening, folks. I guess I shouldn't say that because I've already said it, but this is the first piece of the campaign map I'm going to record. You know, we always come out strong on this campaign in the sense that it's all focused around entertainment. And I think that being outnumbered 50 to 1 by vampires, Skullex racking up nearly 700 kills, Kholek at 320, and you can see the 7 deadly sins almost getting 700 kills between themselves. That's the way we deal with vampires, folks, right there. We're going to be watching the vampire stink out of Star Crusher for weeks after that. Yikes. Von Karstein just doesn't learn. Anyway, I'm not interested in Von Karstein anymore. Yes, I know this is a turn-in, but I'm setting up a beginning here, so this might be the first time you've ever seen a turn-in this campaign. So, yes, welcome back to the campaign map. With the new DLC coming up, we need to finish this campaign for a couple of reasons. One, I want to make room for new campaigns. Two, they update the game with patches that can sometimes kill your old campaigns. Not always, but it sometimes can. And so it'd be smart to get this done. So I'm going to do this episode, and then we are going to end it on episode 30. And in order to be ended, we have to demolish all of the dwarves. Now remember, Bretonnia has 1 settlement that they resettled. Pretty sure the Dark Elves are going to take care of them for me, so we will probably bypass through a lot of Von Karstein, and I'm going to send most of my armies, with the exception of Archaon, who is out seeking glory in the desert. And speaking of glory in the desert, Archaon is about to take down his first group of undead Tomb Kings, a bunch of wannabes from a time long past who think that they belong in the lands of the old world, but we'll see. In fact, let's take care of this battle real quick, and I'm going to do something a little different. Once we do that, then I'll come back and start taking care of some of the comments and questions that folks left for me. Folks, we're here following the wielder of the Sword of Cain, the aura of blood circling about him. And we have a challenger. One of the Tomb King reinforcers has put himself on a somewhat suicidal course with the Dark Lord himself. You see some chariots rolling over, and here he is, a challenger. Archaon came to these lands to find a challenger, someone who is worthy of him. We'll see whether he's worthy, but one of the Tomb Kings answers the call, and we'll see how long he's able to answer it for. I'll give you a quick peek here. He's not answering well. Archaon just about killed him in 2 swift hits. The third was only stopped by the fact that he's now completely and totally surrounded, but I want you all to look at Archaon. He's shrugging off all this damage with relative ease here. He's now got Foe Seeker. He's dishing 1,278 weapon damage, and the Tomb King who opposed him is very much regretting having spent his resurrection to unlife in such a foolish way. You can see that the Tomb Kings are going to pour it on thick in an attempt to take down the Lord of the End Times, but it won't happen. Infantry-wise, my forces have engaged the main army that faced off against me, and I'm using Appius and Sextus to support it. See here, we're tearing our way through these Tomb King infantry, and the Chaos Romans themselves having a fun time of this battle. There are some Tomb King archers around that are making themselves quite annoying. You see here that Archaon doing a bit of blob busting with the Sword of Cain. Wasn't quite as brilliant as I had hoped. Look at everything the Tomb Kings have sent after Archaon here. It's absolutely beautiful battle. Let's check this out here. You got a Tomb Prince in here. You got a Tomb Scorpion. Nehekara Horseman. But Archaon, seeing the blob of Tomb Kings, decides to burn them. Big flaming head here. And it was a pretty epic burning. Y'all might be able to see from the swath of destruction that it burned through the Tomb Kings. Archaon picked up 300-ish kills, roughly. I don't know how many he had before. This Tomb King somehow survived the engagement with Archaon. But certainly not by much. Got the Swords of Chaos here doing a little bit of work. Rear charges and cleaning up. Now remember, the Swords of Chaos have the Guardian ability, and I haven't even needed it. Some of my knights with lances came back here to try and clean up some of these artillery crews, though there are reinforcements coming onto the battlefield nearby, and so I will eventually need to pull out of this fight. Appius is going to swing around. I actually accidentally let him get routed, but I'm going to heal him and send him on in. Oh my goodness, look at the scenery here. Holy cow. This game is absolutely beautiful. Archaon the whole time has been completely surrounded, and he cares not. In fact, he just went ahead and cast another Burning Skull back there. And he continues to just hack his way through these Tomb Kings to prove that he is the only king, and that he's sending them straight back to their tombs. That's 526 kills for Archaons now on 2 absolutely devastating Burning Head spells. Over here, the main Tomb King who faced off against us is meeting his demise at the hands of my cavalry. Sextus is now free to find his way over and get engaged in another fight. See that got all kinds of stuff going on over here. Sepulchral Stalkers back there firing in, and now we've got a Sphinx coming in. So this is going to be a Necro-Sphinx. And then we've got a Kymrian War Sphinx rolling in as well. Check it out, the Necro-Sphinx goes straight for Archaon. The only real damage that's happened to Archaon has been because of his ability to replenish magic at the cost of damage to himself. The Swords of Chaos are near him now, and he's going to be even more difficult to kill. And you can see here, actually I was looking at the wrong character model. Here's Archaon over here, I should have known, with the giant sword above him. All this stuff around him, it's no biggie. Just going to cut his way right through a Necro-Sphinx with not a whole lot of issue. Look how bad the Necro-Sphinx is getting torn apart. So the Tomb King's armies are about to crumble out. We've got nothing left. Their leadership's broken. Archaon has thoroughly defeated them. Does anybody else get the feeling that after this battle, that Archaon found himself turning towards Sextus and Appius and saying, "I thought you said that they would be a challenge for me." Oh man, folks, Did you even see how strong Archaon is? He's like almost 1,500 weapon damage sometimes. The beating he put down. He chopped through a lord in like 3 hits. Was beating down the Sphinx of Uskef with no problem whatsoever. And the whole time was blobbed up on infantry and other monsters that were attempting to touch him, and they could barely even do damage to him. This is great. This is end times. This is what we want. Okay, so welcome to the episode officially. We started off with 2 battles. You know you're already welcome here, right? I'm going to run through quickly some of the comments that we had from the last episode. First one is from Monkey Norris, who says, he's quoting me, he says, I'll splice in a screenshot right here. And then he's written, awkward silence, lack of screenshot. Yeah, that's me. I have an idea, and then I forget it when I get into all the editing that takes place afterwards, so sorry. Anonymous says here, you should really name one of your halberds in Felmann's army the Terror Guys, you know? That's true, because they killed a bunch of Terrorgeist. Lame pun and name accepted. Ooh, we got another Forbidden Rod. I don't know if we should give Appius a Forbidden Rod, though, because... oh, boy. Yeah, causing a lot of damage to himself is probably not in his best interest, because I almost get him killed all the time anyway. Let's go over here to the Chosen. I'm not going to keep many of these Chosen, so we need to make sure... or not all these ones with halberds, at least. So whatever one we name, let's pick the ones with the most chevrons here. And we're going to name these ones the Terror Guys. There you go. It's a good name. I like it. And then Joshua says the Kentucky Friars 11 Seasonings. Here it is, folks. You ready for the secret recipe? He's giving it away. Doom, despair, hate, rage, blood, pain, dust, bone, ash, chaos, and don't forget that last one, salt. Oh, I love it. That was fantastic, Joshua. Thanks. Then we got Dathan here says, burn the oak of ages, that is. Honestly, we will have a ceremonial burning of the oak for you. I think what we'll do, I have Vardek Krom's army here, but he's going to need some help. So we'll keep Vardek behind. I'm going to go ahead and send Patchy and Sigvald and Kholek, as well as Felmann, to the realm of the dwarves, and we're going to start really crunching dwarves. I will make a new army for Vardek. You guys have to help me name the character when I put him in here. And we will take Vardek in the support army, which is going to consist of lots of heavily shielded units and heavy cavalry with shields and swords, which should be appropriate for beating down the Wood Elves at the Oak of Ages. And burn, baby, burn, to signify the burning cleansing of the old world. Yes, we will burn the Oak of Ages. It seems like that's what you all want me to go do, so it will be done. And it says, we got a story here. It says, for inspiration to burn the oak. It says, Kentucky the Chicken Friar looks at his new victim, a giant mass of Terrorgeist, a gift from his friend Felmann. He summons his magic and prepares to light his victims on fire, but suddenly he stops. Where's the wood? I can't fry these pests without firewood, he says. My lord, you burned all the forest around here, a minion tells him. Kentucky looks around him. True to his minion, there's no forest. But then he sees something green on the horizon. A cruel grin makes its way onto his face. The forest of Athel Loren lies before us. Burn it down. With a loud roar of approval, his army marches to the wood. The end of a tree man is coming. Sorry for all the grammatic mistakes. I'm from Germany, so... Anyway, that's a great comment. I like it. The only problem is the Kentucky Friar can't make the journey himself because he's on the way to take down the dwarves. So what we will do is we're going to assume that Felmann has been asked to go on a task by the Kentucky Friar to obtain the wood. So Felmann will take on this journey. He considers it very worthy, and he's sure that Archaon would approve. So great comments, folks. I really appreciate it. And then there was one more comment here where people are telling me the reason the vampires come back is because of this. They have a random chance that's like raised from the dead or whatever they call it, where the vampires come back. Honestly, that's kind of stupid. Like, it makes sense if you win the battle. I don't think it makes sense if you lose the battle, but whatever. It is what it is, and it's an intended mechanic. So air, shut your face is basically what people are saying. More or less, something like that. Anyway, alright, we can continue the turn. Kholek has smashed the living crap out of all these vampires over here. I'm not interested in destroying their settlements. They are not my main target, and I don't have time to spend episodes chasing these losers down. So we are just going to simply continue on south, and I will continue making sure that Kholek is encamped, his troops stay healthy, because while he's healthy, there is no possible vampire force that could overcome him. Destroying HeirofCarthage might be in our interest, because they're clearly spamming their Terrorgeist from here. So when Kholek does get down here, we may want to go take care of HeirofCarthage, because it's kind of a Terrorgeist nest right now. And Archaon, of course, is going to level up after that. Epic victory over the Tomb Kings. Absolutely amazing, devastating defeat for the Tomb Kings. Let's see, Indomitable, Earthing. I mean, Archaon is truly indomitable. He's unbreakable, so I don't know if it really even matters at this point to increase that. He's already got 126 melee attack. That would make it 153 armor or 145 charge. Let's go for the 153 armor, because it makes him that much more impossible to damage. You guys see the kind of damage that he can tank. I mean, it would be interesting. We might want to just kind of test out whether or not he can even really be killed at this point. I mean, he's as immortal as any character ever has been in this game. Let's push this way with Vardek Krum, and when we get closer to the oak, we will ensure that it is burned. I may have to make a pit stop with Vardek and take care of what the Dark Elves seem to be incapable of doing. You can't set war coordination targets. I can't do it with my... It didn't seem like it worked. Well, I can set a war coordination target. I'll just tell my Dark Elf puppets to take care of it for me. I tried doing it with... This wasn't working last time, I swear it wasn't. That's ridiculous. Anyway, I'm going to set a war coordination target here. And then we'll set one for Besornling as well. I want to clear out these vampires, so we'll start coordinating with the minions whom we cooperate with. Since when do I have a military alliance with Clan Rictus? I don't recall any such thing.
Call me Lord Craventail.
I'll call you Shut Up. How about that, Craventail, you treacherous turd? I must have accidentally made an agreement with them. Anyway, let's bring Napa down here to potentially deal with dwarf agents. Apparently, not having gotten the message about having lost when outnumbered 50-1, Kadon von Waldenhof, he being the dumbest of vampires to ever grace undeath. Yes, that's what we'll call it. Along with Vladdy the Daddy von Karstein, the Terrorgeist spammer himself, back for a second round, this time not supporting his Terrorgeist, think they have a legitimate chance to win here. Well, not having learned the first time, we can see here the vampires, Blood Knights included, so at least they do have some anti-large here. It's unlikely to be near enough to save them, but let's check out the army of Kholek Sun Eater approaching here. The Dragon Ogres, the Giant, the Shaggoths, Summoners of Rage, Kholek, they're all going to start pouring into the fight. Now, the initial fight that we'll have here against the vampires will take a toll on certain areas of Kholek's army for sure. Because with the vampires, they're going to come out hitting strong, and then as you're able to wither down key units and leadership, you'll start to turn that balance of power pretty quickly. I'm going to use Skull X to come in here and take out these Mortis engines. These are units that I do not want being around the battle for too long, as they can significantly take away hit points from my units, so I definitely want to get back here and tear them up. one of the vampire lords up front. I've got my chariots bundled up here on my right flank. I'm going to use them to help bust through some of these blood knights. I need to get them over here into all these grave guard with great weapons. If those sit around too long in combat, they'll be able to start tearing through some of the armor on my units. There's another unit of blood knights here coming after Skullux. It's unlikely that they'll be able to cause significant damage. The Mortis engine tries to get away, but I have a Shaggoth waiting on it, and then Kholek is calling down his lightning. I'm going to use Kholek to cut through these blood knights and sends them running rather quickly. It's time to finish us a Mortis engine. So, one down, and then I've got my chariots able to press into the back of the enemy infantry, or at least nearly able to do so. We got one Grave Guard wrecked. There's going to be a Vampire Lord and 2 Vargeist over here. The Daddy von Karstein is gracing us with his idiotic presence here on the battlefield. That's the thing with Vlad. He's stuck on foot. He's got no way to cause any significant damage. He's going to run around thinking he's tough, but we don't even really have to address him head on. I was able to use the Chain Lightning on the Summoners of Rage to break up a flank that was actually kind of souring against me. And very quickly, it broke up these Grave Guard, other units near it, and it managed to cause significant damage to a lot of enemy units. Vargulf just went down. You can see from the overhead here that another enemy Lord dropped, and the power bar is quickly starting to turn in favor of Kholek. We still have a lot of corpse carts here. These are units that can cause healing and buff up the units around us, so we'll want to deal with the corpse carts as soon as I get the opportunity. Again, it's just a good way to bring down the vampire leadership. You can see the wreckage of the other Mortis engine. There's a Terrorgeist dive bombing around, but I'm not terribly concerned about the Terrorgeist. Got my chariots free here. I'm going to send them on missions after enemy lords as well as the giant. And I'm going to start pushing over here with Skullx to start trying to pick off corpse carts. One down here. See, we're going to dive bomb another. And the vampire leadership is absolutely disintegrating. And that'll just leave Vladdy, who, for whatever reason, I guess is healing or whatever it is holding him together despite all the crumbling. It's going to force me to pull all my forces off of this giant mosh pit. And that way Kholek can single him out and more effectively destroy him. So you can see Vlad just getting pushed around by all the giant monsters. He's a little bit out of his realm here. Kholek will give him a quick skull crushing. Look at him laying around on the ground. That was perfect. Well, I guess that Vlad and Kaden here will go down as indeed the dumbest vampires to ever be undead. Wow, did they ever take a beating. And that's the funny part, is that Vlad thinks he's so tough he can roll around and you can't hurt him. Well, you don't have to. We just pound the living daylights out of everything else that's unliving around us. Ooh, we picked up a Talisman of Preservation. Probably need to think of a smart spot to put that, because that is a 20% ward save that we can put onto a character. Let's go check out some of the different potential places to use that. Our armies of chaos just roving around here. This is really and truly spectacular. We've got other armies that should be ready to operate for us and helping to take out some of our enemies. The Dark Elves, did they confirm? Ally mobilizes the Cult of Pleasure. So this is good. Hopefully the Bretonnians who are looking to do some rebuilding here, looks like the Fey Enchantress and others have already gotten a strong start. The von Karstein clan is in a state of complete and utter chaos, pun intended. Let's continue to move Vardek towards the Oak of Ages that will help the Kentucky Friar do what he needs to do. These last few episodes ended up being vampire heavy. Not exactly what I expected. But, you know, sometimes you just gotta take care of business. There's a huge garrison there, so I'm gonna actually wait for Kholek to get down here. We do need to re-recruit a Dragon Ogre, because they managed to kill one, which I'm not real happy about. I'll forever hold that grudge against the vampires. So, no one kills a Shaggoth and gets away with it. Or it wasn't a Shaggoth, it was just a standard one. But you know what? I'm wondering whether I should replace it with the standard one or replace it with a Shaggoth, and we can add one of the 7 deadly sins. I think that's what we'll do. I'm going to add a Shaggoth, And you all help me pick one of the remaining 7 deadly sins that we don't have. So make sure and tell me in the comments. We got sloth, pride, anger, gluttony, and envy. So you guys help me name another one there. And we'll start to really have them living up to their namesakes. Ingerson's just waiting on Cocoa Pox to come back. It's hard to continue without your best friend at your side, you know? Alright, let's get Sigvald. We can move freely up to this point. And then we'll start moving across Essen. And soon the battles with the dwarves will start. So the next episode is going to be an absolute dwarf pounding. It should be pretty entertaining. Looks like King Intez has come back. The Tomb Kings can only imagine the horror that has come among their lands with Archaon and a fully developed Sword of Cain. It is truly the end times for them. And I don't think that any amount of magic is going to save them at this point. Their rotten corpses will never be reanimated again after a beating of this level. Let's go up. We need to get that talisman assigned. Kind of wondering if Vardek is a good candidate for this. I want to be able to have knights in his army, and let's take care of that as well. I don't know, it'd be nice for Patchy to have it too, because he's a sorcerer and he's kind of weak, whereas Vardek has this big dragon. Of course, that just makes Vardek that much stronger. I want to give it to Patchy if it's possible for him to carry it. He's got this 12% ward save already, and a 15 here, so that would up it to 20. Physical resistance there, so that means that the 15% ward save, if we don't already have it, yeah, we can put that right here, Talisman of Endurance. And then let's see, kind of swapping stuff around here. I can't remember what it kind of, yeah, we've already got a Talisman of Endurance there. I wish we had, oof man, that army on, or that armor on Patchy would be really good on Kholek as well, but we're going to keep it on Patchy. He's going to need the protection more than Kholek does, because Kholek replenishes now too. This Chalice of Chaos, it just makes him absolutely insane. Hardly feels fair, but you know, that's kind of the way I intended this. I don't think I intended it to be fair. I think I intended to beat the living daylights out of my enemies. And I'm accomplishing just that. I'm gonna kind of keep leveling up Nappa here. He's already done most of these, but we'll go ahead and keep giving him skills. Well, I guess the Tomb Kings want to stand against Archaon again. King Intez, who fled before our presence earlier, has now come to face his doom at the hands of Archaon. He's being reinforced by King Oftos. Cetra is still nowhere to be seen. King Hapros and King Sektash, whatever his face. Anyway, we're gonna destroy us some more Tomb Kings, folks. So Archaon's engagement with the second group of Tomb Kings who came to oppose him, this time the forces of Khemri, coming to try and save their Doomed Kingdom's allies. Doomed Kingdom. It's probably the more appropriate moniker there. So I've got my cavalry with Archaon. This is his knights with lances, and Dark Lord himself doing some work on that flank. Otherwise, there are a huge number of Tomb King's reinforcements coming in. Here's King Hapros and some of the others marshaling their undead forces on the dunes to see if they can stop the forces of chaos, which have burned their way clear into these deserts. Not a whole lot to burn around here other than a few oases. Appius and Sextus are at the ready. I'm going to send them after that Screaming Skull catapult here shortly. And meanwhile, I've just used Archaon and his knights to cut down some of these large targets over here. Sepulchral Stalkers will be next. And I've got the Sons of the Last Plague here to clean up a Tomb Guard with Halberd. which could have potentially caused some damage to some of my cavalry, but not likely to Archaon himself. Meanwhile, I've got my Chosen engaging the Tomb King's infantry. We're going to be taking some missile fire throughout this. Got the Reavers of the Night Faith here. The Tomb King's infantry is already receiving the healing because of how many units I've killed. The Reavers are getting some chariot charges there that they're not going to be happy about. Meanwhile, we're going to have more clashes with skeletons here. My heavily armored infantry will not have much problem cutting through these tiny, weakling skeletal units. King Hapros going to try and charge into this infantry. I've got my 2 Chaos Romans heading their direction. Let's see if they can send him back to the void. And we've got some very nice blobs developing here too, you can see. So you guys know what I like to do with blobs. Archaon will be along shortly, and in the meantime, Appius has some very good targets to pick from. First of which is here. So he's going to send these Tomb Kings into the Pit of Shades. Very, very nice effect there. I love this spell. One of my favorite spells. You see now, too, that there's a good blob here for the Penumbral Pendulum. And Appius is racking up the kills at this point, 239. But not to be outdone, Archaon's going to drop the Sword of Cain Vortex. Unfortunately for the Reavers of the Night Faith, it did head their direction. And it caused tremendous damage to them. But it also caused tremendous damage to the Tomb King units. And it berserked all these units as well. So Archaon picked up a cool 100 and something kills pretty quickly right there. The Reavers are no doubt a little bit unhappy with their lord, but always happy to serve. It's going to quickly crumble these skeletons there. Let's get some shots of Appius doing his thing. Wish you could name the mounts of these heroes and stuff too, because it would create an interesting addition. Yeah, we're going to easily cut our swath through these Tomb Kings. There's really nothing else to see here, other than just the cavalry wrecking their way through. There were some Ushabti that were in the way. They will only be a momentary hold-up. Ushabti with great bows should have kept their distance and attempted to skirmish. Plow through these skeletal archers. Meanwhile, in the background, there has been a little bit of important action here. I've managed to trap the Kymrian War Sphinx. There was another about, but it's been destroyed. This War Sphinx is surrounded by my cavalry and my halberds, and effectively it has been neutered. So it's gone, and the remaining Tomb King's units begin to crumble due to lack of leadership. So I'm just going to continually pummel them. My cavalry, you can see there is a Screaming Skull catapult in the back. And there's also a sniper giant hiding back here in the woods. He's been the only one smart enough to stay away from the battle. The Chosen of the Gods are back here as well. I believe it was them. I may have already killed them, I can't remember. Yeah, it's just a standard Ushabti with great bow. The Chosen of the Gods were in this battle. There's the Bone Giant getting a couple of shots in. That was actually a pretty dang solid hit into the Peasant Impalers there, but they'll be unfazed. That's going to be the end of this battle, folks. Archaon cleaning up a second one against the Tomb Kings. Alright, folks, and it is another massive Tomb King beatdown. Picked up a Talisman of Protection. It's never a bad thing. And that is going to be the end of episode 29. The Black Pyramid has been totaled. And now, I think it'd be appropriate if we tore down the Black Tower of Archaon and then destroyed the ancient city of Kymri. Then Archaon can swing north and begin to teach the Stunties who is the true master of the end times. And like I said, the next episode will be the final one, and it will contain in finality the entire destruction of the Dwarf realm. So prepare yourselves for an epic episode where we give Thorgrim, Grombrindle, and the rest the beatdown that they deserve. I will see you then. HeirofCarthage signing out.